in Africa who are not learning their own mother tongue are going into ethnic rivalry that is going to increase ethnic rivalry in Africa as a product of pushing an elites, French and English elites on the populace are going to destroy those populations, and there's going to be constant conflict in those lands. That is what I've learned about Africa, and that is half of the bottom billion that the so-called UN proposes.
Esperantists overall generally have an interest in different cultures and languages, and they're not really just interested in having one. Many of them are still interested in learning many languages, even when they have Esperanto. And as a rule, there's a tendency to seek to preserve existing languages, to disseminate information about cultures that are not the big power cultures. So Esperantists generally do their best to engage in cultural preservation and communication. But I'm not really in the business of making false promises, and I really don't think that what Esperantists really want to do, or what they seek to do, or what they profess to do, is really going to matter if Esperanto were adapted as a universal language. There's no guarantee that it could help preserve existing languages. It's very easy to think of scenarios in which Esperanto would be as much of a menace to existing languages as English is claimed to be today. So it's out of our control, and I think it's wrong to make false promises. And of course, globalization, with or without the linguistic dimension, itself has consequences for the fate of cultures.
Globalization, lately that word has been sort of tied up with economic liberalization, if you want to call it that, and usually freedom of movement for capital and not for workers and this and that. So that form of globalization, as what it means nowadays, that has nothing to do with Esperanto. But the more philosophical term of like being cosmopolitan, being a citizen of the world, if you mean it like that, then yes, I would say that Esperanto is philosophically in line with that sort of thing.
Because Esperanto was made to be a bridge language. So people would learn their own language and Esperanto, and so they would have a common language to communicate in. What happens today is that we have a national language imposing itself on people. And as this language, English in this case, before it was French, it comes with a culture. So the cultures of the other countries are affected by it, and they change. And sometimes the language that is imposed on them actually kills the other language. So there are places where people are speaking more English than their own language. And Esperanto doesn't want that. Esperanto is easy, so that everyone can learn it without attacking their own language and their own culture. It's supposed to be a second language, not a first language.
Where do people speak it? In over 100 countries across the world. Yeah. And what was the second question? How long did it take me to learn? Yeah. In less than a year, I was having quite fluent conversations, speaking quite confidently. Yeah.
And is it popular? Do a lot of people speak it? Yeah. Yeah.
Difficult to say exactly how many, but something like a couple of million people.
It's a great idea, because it saves you learning French, German, Spanish, Italian, if we've all got one language.
And it's tons easier to learn, much easier to learn.
It doesn't sound very easy.
Oh, it is, promise you, yeah.
Can you teach us some basics?
I can try, yeah.
Okay, then. Right, so you ready for this, Kelly?
Oh,
you ready?
Lord.
You ready?
Yes.
Brace yourself.
Now, what do you say most often, Kelly?
Right on.
Right on.
Yeah.
I would say giuste.
Giuste.
Yeah, cool. Giuste.
Giuste.
Yeah.
Giuste.
Great stuff.
Yeah. Giuste. Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do I say most often? Help.
That's easy. Help me.
Help me.
Yeah.
Help me. Help me.
Yeah.
So, well, is it based on any language? Is it sort of an...
If you know a bit of French or Spanish or Italian, or even German, Russian even, you'll recognise quite a lot of words in there. And conversely, if you learn Esperanto first, it's a big help for learning other languages afterwards.
And have you got some of the basics on your board?
Go on, yeah. I'll show you this. Right. So we've got... difficult to... There you go. Saluton. Mi nomiĝas... Kelly?
Saluton. Oh, saluton.
Is that hello?
Mi nomiga es Kelly.
Kelly, yeah. Mi nome is Kelly.
Hello, my
yeah.
name is Kelly.
You
Yeah,
sound,
exactly.
Kelly, you sound like you've been speaking it for years.
Oh, I have been. Just kidding.
She's fluent in Esperanto.
Kaj mi bezonas tranoktigonton.
Gave me bizones.
Tran-
That's like super loud, fragilistic accent. That's too long. Tranokti gong konkatong.
Yeah, but that's one word that means somebody who's going to put me up for the night. So it's there's a lot packed in there, yeah.
Oh, so it's lazy. It's just one word.
Absolutely,
That's
yeah, yeah.
awesome.
So there you go. This is what you just said. Yeah, there you go. Hi.
My name is
My
Kelly.
name's Kelly.
Well, I need a place to
I need a
stay.
place to stay. Cool, yeah. Okay.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do.
I was saying it last night. Please help me. Have you got any more there
One
for
more,
us?
go on, yeah. Essential one.
Qui estas la necesario?
Necesario.
That looks very Spanish. Estás la
Yeah, if you know a bit of Spanish,
is
yeah,
the
you recognise a
bathroom?
lot of things. Absolutely, yeah, well
You're
done.
joking.
No, there we go. Where's the toilet?
Really?
Necessary, the necessary room, the necessary place.
Well, I
Because
first
we all need
thought
it. yeah.
necessary when I saw that.
We
I
all
thought,
need it,
what's
yeah.
necessary when you to laugh? Obviously,
Absolutely,
isn't
yeah.
it?
Eventually it will outgrow English eventually, but I think we're talking about a development that has to evolve, because at the moment you have a lot of big languages. You have English, you have Spanish, you have Russian, you have French, you have Chinese, and there are also a couple of others. So all these big languages are there. So all of them would have a kind of interest in being, you know, the first language. At the moment it's English, but you don't know how things are going to change in the future.
I believe that the goal of displacing English as the major vehicle of international communication, replacing with Esperanto, I think that's now impossible to achieve. And I think that even if there were to be a catastrophic change in the balance of global political and economic power, I have my doubts that it could actually dislodge English and, say, replace it with Chinese. But regardless, the way I see it, when you use a language on the scale that Esperanto aspires to function in, you're running into the basic problem that language always follows power. It follows economic, political, scientific, technological. It involves some kind of power. Now, there's always been an argument that Esperanto is more efficient, it would save money, it would save duplication of effort, it can prevent all sorts of hardships that come from multilingualism. But we've learned the hard way that the world doesn't work like that. And that Esperanto, because it's a language that's not in power, its existence sort of violates the priorities, the very sensibility of existing power arrangements. And I think that this leap to displacing what we have now, however messy it may be, and substituting with Esperanto, even if it's more efficient, it's not going to happen. Because ultimately efficiency really isn't the issue. Power is the issue.
Powerful people who could effectuate such a change have never gotten to Esperanto in the first place. But secondly, even Esperantists don't wish that. You know, the idea of eliminating languages is pretty counter to what any Esperantist would think. I mean, Esperantists are not a monolithic group, of course, there's a range of ideologies and all that, but I think that you would never find one who would approve of the elimination of languages. In the ideal world, all the languages that exist today would still exist, but everybody would also speak Esperanto. So there is no need at all to even think about eliminating languages. That is more of a scare tactic. Now I can say myself that I mean, there's a lot of animosity towards English among Esperantists, but it's not towards English as a language. It's towards English as as sort of a carrier of like cultural imperialism. You know, I'm a native speaker of English, and when two native speakers of English meet, they will speak their native language. But there's a phenomenon around the world where, you know, people